Hello, everyone. It is May 12th, 2021. Today's live stream devotional and Bible study. Today, we will be going through Jesus is Calling for today, and we're going to be starting the book of Ezekiel. Before we get to any of that, though, I just want to apologize for being later. I actually had a meeting originally scheduled for about now, but then things happened, so I postponed it or not postponed it, I moved it a lot earlier, thinking it was going to be about an hour long. It ended up being about 2 hours. So I am really sorry about coming at you guys so late today. Please forgive me and welcome. So we're going to jump into Jesus is Calling now and start off with today's devotional. So May 12th, 2021. Learn to relate to others through my love rather than yours. Your human love is ever so limited. Full of flaws and manipulation, my loving presence, which always enfolds you, is available to bless others as well as you. Instead of trying harder to help people through your own platry supplies, I'm not 100% sure what that means. Become aware of my unlimited supply, which is accessible to you continually. Let my love envelop your outreach to other people. Many of my precious children have fallen prey to burnout. A better description of their condition might be drain out. Countless interactions with needy people have drained them without their conscious awareness. You are among these weary ones who are like wounded soldiers needing R&R. Take time to rest in the love light of my presence. I will gradually restore you to the energy that you have lost over the years. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and you will find rest for your souls. That was inspired by 3 different sections of the Bible. Your love, O Lord, reaches to the heavens, your faithfulness to the skies. Psalm 36:5. The Lord replied, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Exodus 33:14. And then lastly, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Matthew 11:28-29. And that last Bible verse, that last little section there is an amazing song by Thrice. I forgot the name of the band for a second. Called Come All You Weary, and it's them singing basically that Bible verse, and it is a powerful and passionate song. I don't really connect with like traditional worship music a whole lot. And this song, it's by a screamo band, but it's not screamo, so don't worry. But it is a powerful song, and that idea of resting being a form of worship. I think that's so cool. And that's still something that I've learned during this pandemic, that rest is a form of worship, and I think that's really awesome. And doing stuff to prevent burnout, I think, is also really important. And that's why I took a week off a little while ago. Is not that I was feeling overburdened or like there's too many this, that, or the other. It's just I need time to rest and recharge to prevent that from happening. And that's it's a healthy practice. It's godly practice. That's why vacations are a thing. Right? So it was good to do that. So now we're going to turn to, oh no, this is in the wrong place. No, it's not. My bookmark is there. We're going to turn to the book of Ezekiel. So if you don't know what Ezekiel's about, I kind of forget as well. And I was going to read Isaiah today. No one gave me a book that they wanted to read through. So I was like, well, maybe I'll do Isaiah then. Because I was thinking about just sharing a very important verse to me not verse, chapter to me. And so I was like, yeah, people will read through that. And then Ezekiel just stood out to me like, oh, read this. There's one part of Ezekiel that I remember, and it's talking about this king as a metaphor and an illustration for the enemy, for Lucifer, if you will. That's really all I remember about this book. So it's been a while. Come with me on the adventure as we rediscover Ezekiel, and I will give my honest feedback on things. It has been probably a good 8 years since I've read this. So I'm kind of excited. I've definitely got my feet more, my roots more into scripture now. So hopefully I'll be able to understand things better than I did back then. But yeah, I'm excited to rediscover the book of Ezekiel with you. So if you want to turn to the book of Ezekiel now or online on the Bible app, Ezekiel is spelled Ezekiel, Ezekiel. I'm going to take a sip and then we'll get started. And welcome Ryan, welcome Sarah, welcome Nicole, welcome Brendan. So glad that you guys can join for this. And for whoever's coming in, not live, Langley, I know you usually pop in as well. Yeah, without further ado, let's jump into Ezekiel chapter 1. On July 31st of my 13th year, while I was with the Judean exiles beside the Kebar River in Babylon, the heavens were opened and I saw a vision of God. I saw visions of God. This happened during the 5th year of King Jeroboam's captivity. The Lord gave this message to Ezekiel, son of Bezi, a priest beside the Kebar River in the land of the Babylonians, and he felt the hand of the Lord take a hold of him. As I looked, I saw a great storm coming from the north, driving before it a huge cloud that flashed with lightning and shone with brilliant light. There was a fire inside the cloud, and in the middle of the fire glowed something like glimmering amber. From the center of the cloud came 4 living beings that looked human, except that each had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and their feet had hooves like those of a calf, and shone like burnished bronze. Under each of their 4 wings, I could see human hands. So each of the 4 beings had 4 faces and 4 wings. The wings of each living being touched the wings of the being beside it. Each one moved straight forward and in any direction without turning around. Each had a human face in front, and the face of a lion on the right side, and the face of an ox on the left side, and the face of an eagle at the back. Each had 2 pairs of outstretched wings. One pair stretched out to touch the wings of the living being on either side of it. The other pair covered its body. They went in whatever direction the Spirit chose, and they moved straight forward in any direction without turning around. The living beings looked like bright coals of fire or brilliant torches, and lighting seemed to flash back and forth among them, and the living beings darted to and fro like flashes of lightning. As I looked at these beings, I saw 4 wheels touching the ground beside them. 1 wheel belonged to each. The wheels sparkled as if made of barley. All 4 wheels looked alike and were made the same. Each wheel had a second wheel turning crosswire within it. The beings could move in any of the 4 directions they faced without turning as they moved. The rims of the four wheels were tall and frightening, and they were covered with eyes all around. While the living beings moved, the wheels moved with them. When they flew upward, the wheels went up too. The spirit of the living being was in the wheels. So wherever the spirit went, the wheels and the living beings also went. When the beings moved, the wheels moved. When the beings stopped, the wheels stopped. When the beings flew upward, the wheels rose up, for the spirit of the living beings was in the wheels. Spread above them was a surface, like sky glittering like crystal. Beneath this surface was the wings of each living being stretched out to touch others' wings, and each had two wings covering its body. As they flew, their wings sounded to me like waves crashing against the shore, or like the voice of the Almighty, or the shouting of a mighty army. When they stopped, they let down their wings. As they stood with the wings lowered, a voice spoke from beyond the crystal surface above them. Above this surface was something that looked like the throne, made of blue lapis lazuli. On the throne, high above, was a figure whose appearance resembled a man. From what appeared to be his waist up, he looked like glimmering amber, flickering like a fire, and from his waist down he looked like a burning flame, shining with splendor. All around him was a glowing halo, like a rainbow shining in the clouds of rainy days. This is what the glory of the Lord looked like to me. When I saw it, I fell face down to the ground, and I heard someone's voice speaking to me. May God add a blessing to the reading of his word. Holy cow, that sounded epic. I forgot all about this stuff. So I know, and I kind of foreshadowed a little bit that in this book there is a king that's used as a reference for the enemy. But this is not what this seems to be about. As I'm reading it and as I ended it, this sounds like a glimpse of heaven. Those beings that you saw, these four living beings, I'll make a lot of references in the book of Daniel and the book of Revelations to angelic beings. So at first, as I'm saying it, with the fire and the lightning and the clouds and the fire, it's, wait, is this a demonic imagery is what I was thinking. And then as I read and I got to know more and more and more, I was like, no. These are angelic beings, which I don't know if I ever would have picked up on the first time I was reading this. This just sounds so weird and trippy. It also almost sounds like modern day machinery in some ways too, with like the wheels kind of like, is it a plane? What was it that he was seeing? Was it a tank? Who knows? But so as I was reading it, I was kind of getting some of those responses. But yeah, this is actually, he was describing what some angelic beings look like in some other books. And it's pretty consistent. This really kind of whacked out vision is kind of a glimpse of heaven and the throne room, where God sits. And the being looking like a man. This is long before Jesus walks the earth. But the person on the throne very easily could have been Jesus himself. Who knows? It's really this epic image of everything happening. It just sounds so cool. I don't remember much about it. Like I said, I don't know what happens next. Tomorrow's is going to be a little bit of a smaller one. Ezekiel's Call and Commission is what it's titled as. So I'm excited. That introduction was like that of a blockbuster movie. So I came and I had a vision, and it's this really big epic thing that, like, imagine trying to describe this vision to people from so long ago, and he really seemed amazed at the fact that these beings can move without turning. That seemed to just kind of blow his mind, as Ezekiel mentioned that a few times. So it sounds like he was 13 when this happened. He was with a bunch of Judean exiles um, by the river, and he saw this happen, and it's really kind of cool. Um, so yeah, I don't really know much else to add to that besides that. There is this section here that kind of sums up what Ezekiel is about. It's called Jesus in Ezekiel. So I'm going to read that before I pray. And this is written, this is like a little opening introduction to Ezekiel by Mark Baverman. And it's something that's in my Bible right there. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah. All right. So the prophet Ezekiel is living in the midst of bad times, bad and difficult times. The 6th century BC is a period of clashing empires, and the tiny Judea is caught in the middle. Babylonia has defeated Egypt, becoming the leading political and military power in the region of Syria, Palestine, including the territory of Judah. When the Judean rebels, the Babylonians, destroyed Jerusalem and the temple, exiling most of the people of Babylon in 586 before Christ, Ezekiel, who is from the priestly class, travels with his people into exile, returning them to Jerusalem about 40 years later. So this book is taking place 586 years before Christ. Yeah. Ezekiel chronicles the pain and bitter lessons of catastrophic and radical change. He prophesies about Judah's impending doom, the pain of exile, and the challenges of rebuilding when God's people are allowed to return home. Themes running through this narrative include overcoming moral blindness, dealing with loss and trauma, and learning from past mistakes and sin. Writing about Ezekiel, theologian Walter Brueggemann points out that the government in ancient Jerusalem was busy doing the things governments do, deploying ambassadors, developing new weapon systems, designing new technologies, dealing with cost overruns, securing more funding, levying taxes, holding press conferences. Brueggemann doesn't mince words about how good we are at getting ourselves in trouble. We never seem to get that our biggest enemy is really us. While its leaders made the war effort, ancient Jerusalem staggered towards death, invaded by empire, occupied by armies, and eventually leveled, spent in self-deception and self-destruction. All technology, power, money, and development had not yet brought safety and peace. Most people in Jerusalem had noticed the gathering darkness. I think that was an excerpt from that guy's book. But Ezekiel has noticed. He reminds the people that they've become idolaters, falsely believing that war making, power brokering, and the accumulation of wealth will bring peace and security, all while neglecting the most vulnerable in their society. But prophets aren't mere doomsayers. Prophets as in people that are like prophets of God, not financial prophets. They offer hope and a roadmap to redemption. Ezekiel's vision of dry bones in chapter 37 is all about rebirth and renewal. That's right. That is also in Ezekiel, which is also a really cool part. If you're friends with me on the Bible app, I just made a picture of like a zombie hand coming up and talking about, no, I use Skeletor for that one. Skeletor kind of doing a weird sexy pose and talking about the Valley of Dry Bones. Anyways, add me to the Bible Gateway app as a friend. You'll see some of the things that I do. Um, yeah, the Valley of Dry Bones. This is actually a really, like, if you thought this vision was crazy, the Valley of Dry Bones is also like right up there with crazy. God is promising to breathe new life into his people and to restore them to their land. Of course, the people misunderstood the meaning of this prophecy. Restoration from ruin is not about power and conquest, it's about building a society that is responsive to the least of these. Ezekiel, in his time, just as Jesus in his, is preaching against materialistic, power obsessed idolatry. 600 years after Ezekiel declares the moral corruption that has infected the rebuilt temple, Jesus arrives on the scene, standing in front of that same temple, proclaiming, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will rise it up." John 2:19. And his followers miss what he is saying. They think Jesus is going to restore the kingdom of stone and gold, but Jesus knows that the temple of Jerusalem will become the temple of his body. Jesus' ministry is focused on this one simple message. It remains it remains for us to bring that good news wherever our life journey takes us. So that's the introduction to Ezekiel. I'm excited about this. I'm glad that God brought it to the forefront of my mind. There are amazing imagery stuff coming through. If you end up getting engaged by a lot of this stuff, any of this stuff, there are some great art pieces inspired by Ezekiel, because it just talks about a lot of the supernatural parts of faith. Parts that are a little bit beyond me, I will admit. I don't delve into the supernatural stuff all that often. But some of the visions in here are amazing, powerful images. And it started off right out of the gate, I think, going, pretty fast out of the gate with that. So I'm excited to rediscover Ezekiel now, even more so. And I see how it can fit into our circumstances very, very well. So, Lord, thank you for bringing it to my attention. And I pray that you can help navigate. There's a lot of visions in here, Lord, that I probably still don't understand. So help me to appreciate, help me to learn, help me to grow, help me to understand these missions and these visions, and to help bring the book of Ezekiel into context for us today. Helps to see the practical side of things and the spiritual side of things. And I thank you for the book of Ezekiel. I'm excited to get to the dry bones. I'm excited to get to the King of Tyre. I'm excited to find out what this vision of heaven is going to have coming out of the other side of it. And I thank you that your mission and your love for the least of these is something that goes through, and that how beautiful are the feet of the messenger on the mountaintop. It still rings true. Ezekiel doesn't just come to preach about doom and destruction, but like Judah, there's hope, there's redemption in it, and it seems like Ezekiel is much more tuned in to wanting to support that. In the middle of this war and this displacement over Judah, it also makes me think about what's happening right now in the real world, Lord, with attacks going on with Jordan and Israel, and people getting kicked out of their homes over this land that's been disputed for well over 2,000 years, Lord. The death that's still going on from this battle that we're getting a glimpse into, like, it's almost 3,000 years ago now. And Lord, 3,000 years of this battle over this land. I thank you that when you came, you were like, yeah, no, that my kingdom is not made of stone or gold. My kingdom transcends all of that. And I thank you that we can experience the kingdom now and not yet. that we can experience your kingdom here in Canada, in Ontario, that we don't have to go to the war-torn country and be a part of that battle. Lord, there is some human atrocities going on over there. And I pray for your hand to be in it, to guide and bring peace to that region. I just, tuned into a little bit of news yesterday about everything that's going on over there. With Ramadan going on, and it just ended up bringing so much Ramadan happening with COVID restrictions, and now this other country saying, no, this is our land, and things are at a boiling point over there once again, Lord. And I lift up all the decision makers, all the people on the ground, and especially Christians that are throwing their hat into this fight. Lord, I pray that they can do it with guidance and with wisdom and with love, and that money and all the things that we just read that Ezekiel is going to be preaching against aren't the motivating factors. And I pray for that in our own lives, that we don't strive for all of this. And as we look forward to coming out of COVID-19 and the stay-at-home orders, that we can do so in a way that loves and doesn't judge, that isn't about self, but we can have room and understanding for those that are in a different space when it comes to reintegrating with the rest of society, and that we can have space and room to show love, and to show love to the least of these, especially those that are somewhat feeling left behind during all of this. And yeah, Lord, I pray for crazy, awesome dreams where we get to see you and experience you. And I thank you for this awesome dream that you gave Ezekiel. It's really cool, Lord. And I thank you that he could share it with us, that we can grasp onto that, and we have this tiny glimpse of an understanding from someone from 2,600 years ago. This glimpse into his vision. And yeah, Lord, thank you so much for it. I pray that you can teach us and you can guide us and you can direct us. Yeah, thank you very much. Amen. All right, awesome. Thank you, guys. Transition into prayer there, kind of unexpectedly, but it happens. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Tomorrow is going to be a very short one. It's like a quarter of a page long, so it should not be long. But I look forward to reading it along with you. Actually, you know what? Maybe tomorrow, because it is pretty short. Tomorrow, I think we're going to do chapters 2 and chapter 3. I think we might end up doing the 2 tomorrow. But yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me once again. Have a fantastic day. God bless.